Hello friends, I welcome you all to Doubt Forum. Today we are going to take another question. So let me read the question first. The radius of gyration of a uniform rod of length L about an axis passing through a point L by 4 away from the center of the rod and perpendicular to it is to be calculated in this question. This is a very simple and easy question if you have memorized the formula for moment of inertia and if you know parallel axis theorem. It will take only 3 to 4 steps and you will get the answer. So that is good. But in this forum, the most important thing is we are not only solving questions, but we are learning the concept behind it. So this is the way in which we differ. We provide a very detailed study of the concepts involved and then we move on to solving the question. So let us take up the question. So this is a rod. Total length of the rod is L. It is cylindrical in shape. So we know there would be an axis that would be passing through the center of the rod and it would be perpendicular. So this axis would be L by 2 distance away from any end of the rod. But we have to calculate moment of inertia in this question about an axis which is L by 4 distance away from the central axis, right? So it would be in effect L by 4 distance away from the center as well as from the end. In this question, we would be learning several very important concepts. So let us note down all the concepts. First, we would be learning about inertia. Or we can say we would first discuss briefly about linear versus angular motion. Then we would discuss inertia. Then we would move on to moment of inertia, which is a concept for rotational or angular motion, moment of inertia. There would be an associated concept called radius of gyration. Then we would also learn parallel axis theorem. Then we would learn a little bit about the derivation of how we can derive the formula for moment of inertia of a cylindrical rod. So let us start with linear versus angular motion. So there are certain quantities I would just note down their equivalent in rotational motion. So in linear motion we have the concept of velocity or speed. This becomes angular speed or angular motion denoted by lowercase Greek letter omega in rotation. And if you also have noticed, mass becomes moment of inertia here. So let us first discuss inertia. In linear motion, inertia is a property. We all understand what inertia is. It is the tendency of a body to continue its state of rest or motion when there is no external force. Similarly, in rotational motion, there is a concept of moment of inertia. It is also known as mass moment of inertia. It is also known as angular momentum, or it is also known as rotational inertia. There are several terms. So mass moment of inertia, angular momentum, or rotational inertia. This is equivalent to mass in rotation. We would also learn what moment of inertia is and how it is to be calculated. Similarly, force. In linear motion, we have the concept of force. In angular motion, we have the concept of torque. Torque is nothing but moment of force. Force multiplied by perpendicular distance from the axis. Linear motion force is most popular formula is ma, mass times acceleration. So in rotational mechanics, this torque formula becomes torque is equal to mass becomes moment of inertia and a becomes angular acceleration. Tau is equal to I alpha. Force is equal to mass times acceleration. Torque is equal to moment of inertia times rotational acceleration or angular acceleration. So this is also a very common formula. So now let us move on to moment of inertia, the most important concept for this question and for today, moment of inertia. How it is defined? So we know moment of any physical quantity is that physical quantity multiplied by its distance from the axis. So for mass, first moment of mass, moment of inertia in physics by definition is second moment of mass. Second moment of mass. What is second moment of mass? Suppose this is an axis. There is a mass, very small particle of mass m. It is located at a distance of r from the axis. Its first moment would be mass times distance. This is first moment. But we have to take second moment, means we have to again multiply it with perpendicular distance. So mr square. So for a particle, for a very small sized particle of mass m, the moment of inertia would be mr square. Now, suppose there is a body. Any body is made up of infinite number of small particles. So suppose m1 is a particle at a distance of r1, m2 is a particle at a distance of r2, m3 is a particle at a distance of r3, and so on. So the total moment of inertia about this axis A for this body would be the sum of moment of inertia of all the individual particles, which are infinite in number. So for m1, the moment of inertia would be m1r1 square. For m2, it would be m2r2 square. For particle 3, it would be m3r3 square. And this way we will continue to add up all the moment of inertia, and then only we would be able to calculate the total moment of inertia of this entire body. Now, practically is it possible? No, because every body has infinite number of particles located at different distances. So we can probably not calculate moment of inertia for any random shape. So we have to take help of integration. This way we can derive the moment of inertia formulae for standard symmetrical shapes. Moment of inertia is a scalar quantity. Scalar quantity means the individual moment of inertia of each particle would simply be arithmetic sum. It will not be a vector sum. It would be an arithmetic sum, and this way you can calculate the same for the entire body. So it is a scalar quantity, very important. Next concept is radius of gyration. Radius of gyration is an imaginary concept, is an imaginary distance. So what we do for this body, this is the moment of inertia. We assume that the entire mass of this body, say m1, m2, m3, m4, m4 total, if entire mass of this body was located at an imaginary distance of k, so the moment of inertia of the entire body would be equal to the moment of inertia of the body when its mass is concentrated at a distance of k from the axis. So it is an imaginary point. It is an imaginary distance, or you can say it is a distance of an imaginary point. So radius of gyration is the distance of an imaginary point, which would give the same moment of inertia for the body if the entire mass was located here as the moment of inertia of the actual distribution of the mass or particles of the body. So mk square. So we equate the total moment of inertia with mk square. K is called the radius of gyration. So let us solve the question. After this, we would also learn a little bit about parallel axis theorem. So before that, let me explain that you cannot calculate the moment of inertia like this for adding up for each particle. So we use the technique of integration, and we derive standard formulae for standard shapes. So for example, for a cylinder or for a cylindrical rod of length L, the moment of inertia about the central axis MC would be is equal to ml square upon 12. Similarly, for a disk of mass m and radius r, the moment of inertia is mr square by 12, mr square by 2, sorry. I would also explain how this formula came at the end of the question, because it would make the answer solution very long. Next concept we are going to use is parallel axis theorem. So parallel axis theorem says moment of inertia. So suppose this is the moment of inertia about the central axis. We already know the expression for it, and we have been asked to calculate the moment of inertia about an axis which is distance d away from the central axis and is parallel to this. So we can easily calculate about any axis A. So moment of inertia about any axis A which is parallel to the central axis, this would be equal to moment of inertia about the central axis plus mass of the object multiplied by distance between the two axes. So moment of inertia about the central axis for the cylindrical rod is ml square upon 12, and the distance between the two would be md square. In this case, it is said that we have to calculate the moment of inertia about an axis A, which is L by 4 distance away from the central axis. So for D, we would simply place L by 4 and this becomes a square. So we calculate ml square upon 12 plus ml square upon 16 and we solve it. So 48, and this divides this for 4 times, this 3 times, so it becomes 7 ml square. So this is moment of inertia about the axis, desired axis in the question. Now we have to calculate the radius of gyration. So you know moment of inertia is equal to radius of gyration, mass times k square, and we have already calculated moment of inertia. So this way we can, it's the same mass of the body. So we can calculate k is equal to 7L 7 upon 48 square root of 7 upon 48, or L comes outside. Or we can say, we can further simplify, or we can just say this is the answer. So if this is the answer, the option is 2. Option number 2 is the answer. So very simple. So let us quickly review it again. In this question we have used the concept of linear and angular motion, inertia, moment of inertia, radius of gyration, and parallel axis theorem. In linear motion, we know velocity or speed. In rotational motion, this becomes angular speed or angular velocity and is denoted by omega. The concept of mass becomes the concept of moment of inertia in rotational. F is equal to ma is a very common formula in day-to-day physics or linear physics. Tau is equal to I alpha is its equivalent in rotational mechanics. Tau is the torque instead of force. Mass I, moment of inertia in place of mass, and angular acceleration in place of linear acceleration. Then we discussed moment of inertia. Moment of inertia is the second moment of mass for any particle. So there is a particle at a distance of r from an axis. So the moment of inertia of this particle about this axis would be second moment of mass. Mass times radius or mass times distance is the first moment, and again multiplied by distance gives second moment. So mr square. When there is a body consisting of multiple particles, the moment of inertia for the entire body about the axis, any axis, would be the sum of individual particles considering their individual distance from the same axis. m1 r1 square, m2 rt square, m3 r3 square, and we add it up to infinite number of particles. This is a scalar quantity, so we add up all these moments. Then comes the concept of radius of gyration. Radius of gyration is the imaginary radius of gyration is the distance of an imaginary point which gives the same moment of inertia if the entire mass was concentrated at this point as the actual moment of inertia calculated from the actual distribution of the individual particles. So this is the moment of inertia calculated from the individual distribution of particles, m1 r1 square, m2 rt square, and so on. And in one go, if the entire mass was concentrated at any point, m is the mass of the body, so the distance of that imaginary point from the axis k would be called radius of gyration, and it would give mk square, second moment of the entire mass with by considering radius of gyration. As explained earlier, moment of inertia this way is very difficult to calculate in each case, so we have derived standard formulae for standard shapes. For example, for cylinder it is ml square upon 12, L being the total length of the cylinder, so we can see it is independent of the area of cross section of the cylinder. For a disc of radius r and mass m, the moment of inertia would be mr square upon 2. We also discussed parallel axis theorem, which says the moment of inertia about any axis is equal to moment of inertia about the central axis plus mass of the object multiplied by square of the distance between the two axes. In the case of cylinder, the moment of inertia about any axis it has been given that you have to calculate the radius of gyration about an axis L/4 away from the center. So for central axis, the moment of inertia is ml square upon 12. For the desired axis, it is md square, m being the mass of the cylinder m, and d is the distance between the two axes. So in the question it is given the desired axis is L/4 distance away from the central axis. So L/4 square. So we calculate and it comes out to be 7 ml square upon 48. Now, using the concept of radius of gyration, we simply put mk square, k being the radius of gyration and its system. So second moment of entire mass about the radius of gyration would give the same moment of inertia as we calculated. So this way we can calculate the radius of gyration for this question, and it comes out to be square root of 7 upon 48 multiplied by L. So option 2 is correct. So this is the end of this question. We have learned the concepts as well. Now, for those who don't want to learn, it's not important, but I would like to derive the formula. You may be wondering how this formula ml square upon 12, how we actually found out or derived that the moment of inertia for any cylinder would be ml square upon 12. So I'm going to show the derivation for the same. So here we assume a cylinder of length L. The area of cross section of the cylinder we assume as A, and we would derive the formula for moment of inertia of this cylinder about an axis passing through its center and perpendicular to the rod, L being the total length of this cylinder. So this central axis would be L/2 distance away from each end. We would derive the formula using the conventional definition of the moment of inertia for the body, which is the sum of the individual moment of inertias of each particle of the cylinder. So for this purpose, we assume a very thin cross section of the cylinder. It is so thin that we can ignore its thickness or its distance. So this is the very thin cross section of the cylinder. We assume it is located at a distance of x from the center. The thickness of this cross section is very small, and we take it as dx. Mass of this small particle or small disc would be dm, very small mass dm, with a thickness dx and at a distance of x. So let us calculate the moment of inertia for this small particle or small cross section, very small cross section or disc, would be mass of the disc dm, second moment of mass of the disc about this axis. So x is the distance, dm into x square, right? Now we can see, so this is the moment of inertia for this small body, but we have to calculate the moment of inertia for this entire body. So what we would do, we would integrate dm x square from the limit x being 0. This side x is 0, and when we reach up to the extreme end, x becomes L/2. So this way we can calculate the moment of inertia for one half of the cylinder, of the right side, or you can say on the left side. So for first half part of the cylinder, the moment of inertia would be 0 to L/2 dm x square. Now we have to integrate. We would simply take a very small cross section and we would integrate. We have to convert it in the same physical quantity. This is mass and this is distance. So mass we can convert into distance. Distance we can probably not convert into mass. So 0 to L/2. You know what is mass? Mass is density times volume. Volume would be very small, so we call it dV. But density would be the same as the density for the cylinder. Density is a constant for this particular question, or for this particular derivation. Rho would be the same for the cylinder or for any part or any particle of the cylinder. So rho is the density into a small volume, multiplication of the two gives us the small mass into x square. Rho being a constant, it can come out 0 to L/2. Volume, very small volume. How much would be the volume of this disc? It would be area into thickness, area of cross section. So area of cross section of this disc is A, and its thickness is dx. So this gives the volume into x square. Again, area of cross section of the entire object or cylinder is same. So rho multiplied by A, 0 to L by 2, x square into dx. We can simply integrate it. So we get rho into A, x square becomes x cube upon 3 after integration, and we put the limit 0 to L by 2. Then we further solve, so it becomes rho A, in place of x we put L cube upon 2 cube means 8 upon 24, because 3 is already there. So this is I for right side. So moment of inertia of the entire cylinder or entire rod would be 2 times. This much for right side, so this much for left side. Because it is a scalar quantity, so we simply add. So this would become 2 times of this quantity, rho A L upon L cube upon 24. Now 2 makes it 12. Rho A L cube, we can write L cube as L into L square upon 12. Now rho A is volume, density into area of cross section becomes volume, or you can say area of cross section into length becomes volume, and rho is density. Density into volume becomes mass of the cylinder, m L square upon 12. So we have derived the formula for calculating moment of inertia of this standard shape. So this way we can derive the formulae and we can memorize, because when you face a question, you are not supposed to derive the equation and then solve it. You are simply supposed to memorize the formulae for moment of inertia for standard shape like cylinder, disc, hollow sphere, solid sphere, this way. So let us quickly review it again, how we derived. We considered a very small cross section, at a distance of x. The thickness of the cross section is dx, its mass is dm. D means very small. So moment of inertia of this very small particle or disk would be second moment of mass. So mass of the particle or disk multiplied by square of the distance from the axis, x square. And then we integrate, because the value of x would be 0 when the disk is located very close to axis, and the value of x would be L by 2 when the disk is located at a very distance away. So if we integrate, this would give us the sum of moment of inertia of all the disks from distance 0 to L by 2, but only for half of the cylinder. So 0 to L by 2, mass can be converted into density into volume. Density comes outside. Volume is again converted into area of cross section into thickness, because it is a very small thickness or cylinder or disk. So cylinder, volume of a cylinder is cross section of the cylinder multiplied by its thickness or height. So A dx. Then we simply integrate it, rho A L cube upon 24. Take one L outside and other L square upon 12 to the right. Then we make it mass, so it becomes mL square upon 12. So this is very important concept, and I hope it was useful for you. Thank you.